Welcome back to another episode of the Proud American Patriot, otherwise known as TAP. I'm your host. I didn't want to relaunch this as quickly as I have. If you go back into the YouTube archives, I did start this a while ago. Went for a bit. It was just audio, um, but with the climate that we've been in, and well before what happened to Charlie Kirk, I decided to reboot this and start putting things together. Um, but thought I'd just give you a little bit of who I am and what to expect with the show. Um, I'm a one man show. It's me. I'm running the lights, the camera, the editing, the mixing, the scripts, the show ideas, the sitting here in front of the camera, all of it. So it's a bit to bite off, and I want to do it, but it may be a little bit here and there in the beginning. I'll get more into that a little bit here, but first and foremost, I'm a conservative who believes in the Constitution. The founders of this country were extremely intelligent men, and they had a good idea as to how our governmental structure should be set up, what areas should be responsible for what, who should oversee who, what rights we as the people of the citizenship have. They did a excellent job structuring it and writing it out. And I think that much like go back to Charlie Kirk here, much like he has said, that is the best political document ever written. It clearly defines everything, whether someone wants to like what it says or not. That's what it does. It clearly defines everything. Um, and I definitely believe in the Constitution, especially the First and Second Amendments, which is kind of why I'm here. The First Amendment. Um, I'm a Christian, a Catholic to be precise. Although I don't remember the last time I went to Catholic Mass. Probably sometime 10 years ago or so. Not that I don't believe it's the Catholic Church has done some things that I don't agree with, and I don't necessarily buy into the full idea of organized religion. So I do my studying of religion and speaking with God myself. Right or wrong, that's the way I see it. What else? I guess one of my other core beliefs is that it is the responsibility of the strong to protect the weak. Be that your wife, your children, someone else's wife, or just another woman in general, children in general, a male that isn't strong enough to protect himself. That is our job as men and as strong men to protect those who can't protect themselves. I've done it from the time I was young, and in school, people being picked on and bullied. I've continued to do it as I've grown up, and as long as I can be a strong man, that's what I'm going to do. So what is this show, and what can you expect from it? I hope that you enjoy it, especially as I get going on. There's a lot of subjects that I want to talk about. It's mainly going to be conservative values. So the whole idea of a man can be a woman because they decide they want to, or we need to kill all the babies, or we should open up the borders and let anyone who wants in. Yeah, all of that, the exact opposite of it. And it's also going to be me speaking up about what I see as wrong in this world. Not necessarily in our country. Most of it's going to be centered on the United States of America, because when it comes down to it, that's what I care about the most as far as countries go. But if I see something going on in another country, I'll speak about that. I'm sure at some point in time I'll do a bit of a show on Israel, Palestine, my thoughts. It probably doesn't take much to guess what my thoughts are going to be on that. But I'll probably do a show there. But it may be something that is happening in local politics somewhere, or just in local news somewhere. I spend a lot of my time that I'm not doing other things I have to do each day, doing research, looking up what's going on in the world that maybe isn't the most talked about thing. The most talked about thing is easy, and I'm sure I'll do a lot on the most talked about things because that's the hot issue. But I'm also going to look for things that maybe get buried or maybe just don't get touched on as much that I think may be important. Um, do a lot of talking about the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Those are two amendments that I hold near and dear to my heart. Maybe at some point, as far as the Second Amendment goes, I'll share some of my collection with everyone, and if I can find a place that I can set up and do it, maybe take you out to the range with me. And maybe there'll be a little bit about religion. Like I mentioned the whole thing with Israel and Palestine. You can't get into that without getting into religion. But I don't want to center on that, but there will be some. Um, Hopefully I can put out 2-3 episodes a week that are shorter episodes. 5-10 minutes, just enough for you to get that bite size of, oh, here's what happened, and go from there. But I also want to do some longer formats. Like I mentioned, the previous version of this was audio only, and those were long formats. I think most of those were at least 45 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to go that long with this when I do the longer formats. But there are some things that I think need to be touched on more than 5, 10, 15 minutes. Israel Palestine is a great example of that. Probably find some other things that I want to do. Hopefully, have some guests at some point where the two of us or three of us, however many it happens to be, can have more of a long format conversation, be it on things that we agree with, things that we don't agree on. Do some of that as well. The other thing I'm going to be is honest. I don't like to put something out there if I haven't vetted it. I do my best to make sure that anything I speak about, I've done the research into to make sure that what I'm saying is factual, or at least as factual as can be. I don't want to go out there and say ABC just happened, and 5 minutes later I've turned around and say, oh no, wait, that didn't actually happen. I've seen a lot of people that are creators do that, and it's just silly. I'd rather take the time and not necessarily be the first one out there to say something, but know that what I'm saying is right, correct, and I'm being honest with all of you. But other than that, it's going to be a lot of me sitting here and telling you what I think about things. If you have any comments, any suggestions for things you want me to speak about, send me an article, send me an idea. I'll certainly look at it and do some digging and let you know what my thoughts are, because this right here is my way to put my voice out there. I've been a political person for as long as I can remember. I remember back in the late 70s watching Ronald Reagan run for president, and at that point it just captivated me. And I was really young then. I was under 10, so it captivated me, and I've been interested in politics ever since. I spend a lot of time looking at what people say and how they say it, and seeing what people's ideas are as far as how to better this country. And I remember a time when there was a left and a right, and they didn't always agree, but they both wanted what's best for the country. And they would work together to get to what's best for the country. The right would give a little bit here, the left would give a little bit there, and they'd find a solution. Whereas as now it has become so polarizing that it doesn't matter what side says it. I will say that the majority of the good and plausible, reasonable ideas do come from the right, but that's just because the left has gone so far to the left and so far overboard that they wouldn't know a good idea if it was a brick and someone hit them in the head with it. Pretty much their platform right now is, if the right says this, we need to say the opposite. regardless of what the issue is. I honestly think that the right could come out and say that cancer has been cured. We found a cure for it. All you have to do is this, and the left would be speaking out against it. And we've seen that in the last 5 years or so. We've seen the left do that. I'm not going to go into details on that here, but yeah, it's politics has been what I have really been interested in. Not as a career, not as anything that I was going to dive into and be a full-fledged part of running for office, but it interests me enough so that it's not a hobby, it's more than a hobby, and it's something I want to talk about. So this is, if nothing else, this is going to be my voice. Now, before I wrap up, like I mentioned, with Charlie Kirk, that was horrible and tragic. Again, my prayers go out to his family, to Turning Point USA, to everyone in this world that he's touched, which is a lot of people. As I said in that video, I've watched hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of Charlie Kirk interacting with people. And it's amazing how people can say about him things they're saying. I don't know. But I am kind of happy to see that they are realizing that as a country we have freedom of speech, but not freedom from consequences. And that if you go out and say something or do something stupid, your employer can decide that you might not be the best fit for them as an employee, and then immediately let you find the unemployment line. And for far too long, the left has gotten away with doing and saying what they want. I mean, wasn't that long ago they were burning down sections of the cities, and everyone's, oh, it's okay. They're just having their little temper tantrum. It'll be fine. Well, no, it isn't fine. But no, I am going to put these out and let you know what I think. My beliefs as far as politics and my philosophy and religion go are strong. I've lived too far and too long to change them on a drastic scale. Now, there are some things that I've changed my mind over, in the last 10, 15 years. Nothing major, but subtle shifts. I've, seen different sides of arguments and thought, what, that makes sense. Maybe I need to revisit how I view that. But, if you want to go on this journey with me, I certainly invite you to. Do me a favor and give me a like here in YouTube and on Facebook. Those are the two main platforms I'm on right now. Hopefully going to expand in the near future. On YouTube, or I'm sorry, on Facebook, it is just the Proud American Patriot. That's my site. Go there, you'll find me. Give me a like and a follow there if you would. I'd appreciate it. I do spend a decent amount of time over there posting things, reacting to things. I've been enjoying my time going to the very left-leaning creators and posters and pointing out the errors in their logic, so let's say. But that's all I've got for now. No, wait, go back to Charlie. Excuse me. I think it's great that there are all these people that are supporting him, supporting his message, and I think a lot of them are right. They may have silenced one voice, but a million other voices are going to take his place. And I see a lot of people doing the "I am Charlie." That's one thing I'm not going to do, and there's a reason for it. There's only one Charlie, and he was the best of us. And I'm not going to even attempt to say that I am anything close to what he was as a man and believer in Christ, as being able to give people grace all the time, being able to be as eloquent as he was. But you know what? I will be me, and I'll carry that torch that Charlie carried for as long as he did. And I will go out and fight the fight and make sure that my voice gets heard. Because that's what Charlie did. He believed in discourse. And he believed that when we stop talking, that's when violence happens. And his voice was unfortunately stopped. So it's up to the rest of us to keep speaking. But that's all I've got for now. Again, I'd really love it if you drop me a comment, give me a like, give me a share, help me grow this channel so that I can do more with it. Like I said, this is just me as an outlet for my voice right now. But if it does get big enough so that I can be a voice for other people, then by all means I'm up for it. But everyone, take care, have a great night, and I'll see you next time.